Hey there, friends. This is Paul DeBettignies, also known as Minnesota Headhunter. Welcome to my second What You Should Know, what will be a weekly video cast, podcast, whatever you want to call this, medium. Although it's week 3 and I missed last week, so we're still going to call this episode number 2. We're going to get back into a weekly rhythm last week with the final week of Twin Cities Startup Week, and then also the Minnesota Tech Association's fall event. Things got a little bit nutty last week, so we are doing a little catch-up work. For those of you who are unfamiliar with me, I've been working as a technology recruiter, mostly focused. Well, try that again. Way to go, Paul. I've been working 20 plus years in Twin Cities, helping companies grow their teams. My recruiting is focused on tech, product, digital, data, design, and then overarching things, right? Helping companies with recruiting process and strategy, employer branding, being an advocate or evangelist for them in the technology community. I've been writing the blog since 2005, done a ton of speaking, and also then debuting later on this fall, Minnesota Talent Leaders, which is going to be an event focused on sort of manager, director, and above recruiting and HR professionals. We're going to tackle things like how to do virtual onboarding. We're going to bring up the diversity, equity, inclusion conversation, and a number of other things too, as we start thinking about what sort of those folks in town are going to be looking for content and information going into 2021. So these sessions here, laid back, casual. I'll probably swear at some point. It just kind of happens. Asking for a little forgiveness in the process of that. My first episode, I had some feedback, and one of them was that I wasn't as fun as I normally would be, or at least certainly didn't talk about me. So let me do that, since I am wearing my Gopher pullover today. You probably heard, well, maybe you haven't. I don't know. It's important to me. I've been going to Gopher football games since 1982. My dad picked up season tickets. The Gophers had left Memorial Stadium and campus to go to the Metrodome. Since 1982, I've only missed 16 home football games. Most of them for really good excuses like being sick or funerals. Some weddings have been missed along the way. And while I understand that college football in the big scope of what's going on in the world doesn't matter that much, but it's been my pastime for, 38 years on Saturdays. And so while college football has been going on, even though we're not going to be able to attend in place, it's going to be nice to be able to put on my pullover every on Saturday and cheer for Coach Fleck and the Gopher football team. So I'm pretty psyched about that. Kicking and screaming. This photo's from last week, right? The last full day of summer. Kicking and screaming now in reluctant acceptance that fall is here. But I am going to continue to take sunset photos as I always have. So if you're not following me on Instagram and Twitter and you're like, what's this about? Start following me there. Maybe you don't want to do sunset photos. By the way, there is a full moon on the 1st in a couple of days. I really do know these such things. I want to tell you about a conversation I had with an amazing woman named Donna. She runs a roadside farm in Waconia on the east side of Waconia on Highway 5. For those of you not Minnesota, sorry, it just dawned on me. Waconia is about a 45-minute drive west-southwest from downtown Minneapolis. Donna, I've been following at the farm on Instagram all summer, and she does a weekly video, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes about gardening or processing honey or just a bunch of things. And I was having one of those days, days. And I took a drive, and on the way back, I was like, I'm going to stop by and check out this place. And I was taking a photo inside, and I hear this voice because I've heard it on video, right? And she's like, aren't you going to take a photo of me? And I said, hey, Donna, can I get a selfie of you and I? And she says yes. And then for some reason, I sat down. And for nearly an hour and a half, we had the coolest conversation I have had, in a long time. So if you find this on Instagram or on Twitter, you'll see a little bit more about the story. But if you're in the area, you're in the region, right? Pumpkins and pumpkins, gourds, Halloween stuff. They've got bales of hay and straw. They've got kitties on the farm. It's a pretty cool place. So can't say enough about that conversation with Donna. I was kind of bummed out I didn't record the conversation. She did. She invited me back out. Well, actually, I think I invited myself back out, but we're gonna have a couple of conversations in the coming month or so. I look forward to telling her story. It was pretty cool. Another person who I met through Kyle Kubroth, who is the founder of Fueled Collective, formerly known as COCO in downtown Minneapolis, the co-working exchange. Mike Jackson is a member there. Kyle said to Mike something effective, hey, get in touch with Paul. Paul will for sure want to talk to you. Mike is running a group called Black Tech Talent. It's got a website. If you are thinking about how to diversity, equity, inclusion, if you're thinking about how to hire people of color in the tech space, Mike, his website, his team, fantastic folks. The also really cool part was he was up as we were speaking that day for the Inclusive Evolution Award as part of Twin City Startup Week, the Startup Awards. I already knew that I think, well, at some point, maybe he sent me a note afterwards, but anyway, that they won their award in their category. Mike's a fantastic dude. If you get a chance to reach out to him, say hello, pick his brain about hiring and recruiting in places you haven't likely already been doing that. Sort of a weird photo I just tossed in here. So this is my workstation as it is now. It would be back there, but a bunch of the stuff's here now. That was my desk last Friday. I moved my office upstairs for a few days just to like break the monotony like we're all trying to do. The video is of two dear friends of mine, Jason Everbook and Jess Von Bank, and they are LeapGen. Think HR on steroids. Global company here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Every Friday at noon, Minneapolis, St. Paul time. They do a call, and this last week they had 500 some folks on from around the globe. Fantastic conversations that started during COVID, and they're going to keep going with this stuff. It's really good stuff. So if you are in the recruiter HR space, check out LeapGen. Leap as in to leap, and Gen as in generation. LeapGen. Couple of blog posts of note since the last episode. I don't know why I'm so mellow today. I'm just kind of, I don't know, kind of weird. This blog post, recruiting in a pandemic, wake up your company and leadership social media accounts. Mention this, it's been kind of a beating drum that I've been on. If just do an audit, go back to March 1st, look at your social media accounts for your CEO, your CTO, your CMO, VP of sales, yourself, your company, and what have you been posting, if anything, or have you been doing it frequent enough? I want to flip the script on you for a minute. If you're a recruiter HR person, you're a CEO, you're a startup co-founder, whatever you are, and I called you up and said, hey, I've got a really cool client I want you to check out, and you do, and you go to an Instagram account, a LinkedIn account, a Twitter account, and it's been really quiet since March 1st. You might have a bit of an uneasy feeling, and you might be wondering how they're really doing. And so as employers, as recruiters and HR folks and CMOs and VP of sales and as a CEO, like we need to start putting out content so that our potential candidates are interested in who we are, so that when we contact them, they're like, oh, hey, like we want to give them some sense of what's going on in our company. So think about the things that you can be doing over the coming weeks and months. And so for certain, by the time we get to January 4th, which is I think it's January 4th, first Monday after New Year's, right, when we go back to work for 2021, that you've got a whole series of content just like you had last year coming into 2020. Second blog post. Back in January, pre-COVID, I was having conversations with folks, and I really had my universes were colliding. A lot of recruiters or HR professionals, if they've done public speaking, undoubtedly have done a presentation on recruiting and job search being the same thing. For those of you who haven't thought about that, like just think about that for a minute. It's pretty close. Like, when do I call back? What do I wear? Like, we've all got stuff. How do you talk about an ex-boyfriend, girlfriend? How do you talk about an ex-employer? How do you talk about an ex-member on your team? Like, it all fits really well. I started adding recruiting to the mix downstairs in my office. I've got roughly 37 Post-it notes on the wall that have all of these parallels. And so I was going to write a series of blog posts. COVID happened. It didn't feel very appropriate. Although I'm going to not wait much longer to do it. But this one is about interviewing. I sometimes have struggles with hiring managers. I think I think it's my job. I think it's recruiters' jobs in general. That yeah, we're trying to figure out if people are a good fit or not. But I think it's also my job to push an envelope a little bit. If we are talking about wanting to hire beyond who we normally hire, if we're thinking about whether that's in skill set, whether that's in education, whether that's in diversity, equity, inclusion, whether that's like just thought and process and how someone does things. I generally like most people who I interview. By the way, I like most people who I go on a first date with, and I undoubtedly 90% of the time for both want to go a second time around. I want to learn more. The thing is, I'm trying to find ways to include people into the process. I want to say, like, I want to learn more about this person. My experience with hiring managers has been, generally speaking, that they're trying to exclude people from the process. Now, some of you are going to be offended by that. You're the ones doing it the way that I'm speaking about doing. But for those of you who are excluding people from the process, are you really that good at doing this? Can you really figure out in 30 minutes if that person can do the job? I'm going to question that. Some of you are undoubtedly that good at that. Most of us are not. And so that's the context for that blog post. The idea of how are you interviewing people, whether it's candidates, for those who are interviewing employers, and then for those of us who are interviewing / interrogating, I suppose, on our dates. I'm making a pitch that we should be including people in the process to learn more, develop a relationship of sort before we come to some sort of conclusion if we want to spend more time with this person or not. Minnebar 15, I mentioned this in the episode 1, is a week, next week. Deadline for submitting sessions is today the 28th, Monday, because I'm doing this when I'm supposed to. There are, I guess I lost track, there might be about 30, 40 sessions that have been pitched so far. I will tell you that there are 2 of my favorite because they're, well, from me. How to Recruit Like a Startup, Managing Your IT Career, version 12. It'll be the 12th year I do something like this. Why do recruiters suck so bad? We may not have time to get into that this year. Sessions are 25 minutes. If you were planning on pitching a session, got to do it today, by the end of today, okay? And then while you're there, for those of you who are in the tech space, go vote for my sessions, would you? I really want to give these. It's gonna be some really good content again, this go around. Casey Allen, my brother from another mother, who I mentioned in the first episode, and who I did the MSP on Deck podcast with him, and then Kathy Grayson of the then Business Journal, now a communications long title at Medtronic. Casey's next event, does this every year. This is year 4 or 5. I'm kind of losing track. Enterprise Rising. Think startup master class meets The Sims. It's not going to be a bunch of Zooms. Well, there's going to be a lunch of his speaker. I don't even know how to describe this. His speaker lineup is really, it's the most diverse speaker lineup I've ever seen. I think, best I did the count, I think less than 30% of the speakers are white dudes. I'm just going to leave that right there. It's fantastic. The session, there's multiple parts to this. One is you are going to be like you are at an event or you are in a building. Beyond that, it's a little bit like The Sims. For those of you over the age 25, I appreciate you may not know what I'm talking about, but the older, over 25 crowd should. But for example, like one of the buildings has a rooftop deck. And on that's going to be like fireplaces. And around that, people are going to sit. And when you go and sit down at a fireplace, you are now in a chat, a video chat with the other people. It's fantastic. So this is, I haven't attended an event like this before. I'm trying to remember, Remo, REMO is the system that he's using. It's going to be so cool. I'm so much looking forward to this. So tickets are on sale coming up in a few weeks. Twin City Startup Week. It's Twin City Startup Month, right? 3 weeks, sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It was good to get back and at least virtually, right? At least names and chat sessions and some friends who were doing presentations to get back and just see people of sorts. I have this weird sort of vibe about me about Twin City Startup Week because usually, right, I'm used to 70 hours and being like just wiped out. And I always joke that my introverted soul has been bruised and it takes 2 or 3 days for me to come out of a cave. There was some really good content this year. I was a little disappointed that people, me included, weren't more active in chat sessions and certainly not on the Twitter stream. And I said it in the first episode and then I didn't even do it either. We need to do a better job at promoting our tech community, and one of those would have been for Twin City Startup Week. Hats off to Casey Schultz and her team and Beta Man and sponsors and speakers and everyone who coordinated this thing. It was fantastic. I thank you. I can't thank you enough. For those of you who registered, you probably have seen an email, but in case you haven't, Most of the sessions now are being or I think the first week, if not the second week now, sessions are archived. At least last I looked. I don't know if the third week has been yet or not, but you can go back and watch those in case you saw things, missed things, want to go back and listen to them again. Minnesota Cup also happened last week. I don't even know how many years we're into that now. Way past 10. How many millions of dollars have been awarded over the years? If you go to just do a Google search for Minnesota Cup. I'll have the link below. By the way, all the things I'm speaking about, the links will be below, so you can just click Minnesota Cup. I just always loved attending that event. They were at McNamara again this year, but of course it was just the sponsors, the presenters, and the finalists. And so again, though, fantastic opportunity to be able to learn about the cool things that are going on in our town. There were a lot of groups I don't know. I still don't know because I haven't had time to go back and look. So for me, who's pretty in tune to what's going on in town, check out the Minnesota Cup website and the companies that were in the process throughout. A huge bit of news, Bright Health raises another $500 million. Now it sounds like it's no big deal. For Minneapolis, St. Paul, the upper Midwest, this is a big deal. That gets them to roughly $1.5 billion raised. Bright Health has roles that are insurance-related roles here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, marketing and sales. A lot of their tech roles are down in Austin, Texas. Last I looked, fantastic company, growing fast, huge market, huge opportunity. And so this is going to be one of those companies, right? So when Jamf had their IPO earlier this spring, and I got to have that spike the football moment. I still haven't. That's a part of an upcoming episode. Bright Health will be. It's going to be a thing one day. It's going to be a thing. So be paying attention to Bright Health. Look at the career page. Second one is Fulcrum. I knew of the name. I knew they'd been around for about 5 years. SaaS in the manufacturing space raises a 3.1 million round funding. They're around 15, 20-ish some employees, 25, losing track. The article I think says they're going to hire another 15, 20, 25, whatever that number was. I might be getting them mixed up. But they're going to be doing some hiring, sales and marketing particularly. There's 3 roles on their website right now. One of them's a developer role. Why I really love this story, because I don't know anything about them. The way they did their funding round announcement, best I've ever seen. Best I've ever seen in the Midwest. Best I've ever seen in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And I've done a few of these. I've done a few of these really, really well. This is fantastic. So while this is just a LinkedIn post, and again, I'll have links below, how to learn more about who they are, what they do, their funding, what they're going to do with it is amazing. Their career page, yeah. It's a model for me now going forward. And I'm going to be reaching out to the CEO, not so much saying, hey, but it's just like, I want to learn more. How do they do this? What was the thought process to it? There's a learning lesson to be had in there. So check out Fulcrum, check out their funding announcement, and then go to the career page and just bookmark it, because if you're in the sales, marketing, tech space, probably a good idea to be paying attention to what they're doing. Going back to Bright Health, this is a theme, right? Last week it was mostly tech companies. This week it's mostly health tech companies who have or will likely be hiring before the end of the year, right? They're all at different stages of hiring. And I didn't really think about this. I had, again, Casey Allen had a conversation with him. I had maybe, was there 11 on this list? I think I had seven or 8. There's a couple without naming them because I don't want to feel bad about it, but I didn't know who they were. So one also I want to quick point out, Doctor on Demand, not headquartered here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Whoops. I did this last time too, and people were giving me heck about it. Not headquartered here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, but they are hiring here and in the tech space, and they just recently hired a recruiter as well. So I'm curious to be following Doctor on Demand and see what they're up to, what's going to be going on. Last time I did this, it wasn't so smooth. Bear with me. Oh, that worked. So I've also been coming across posts on LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever. So this one, Tom Hart, well-liked technologist here in town. He's talking about Forge, where he works at, is doing some hiring. I think about half the roles that they're hiring for a project. There's more than, I think there's even more than 6 now. Anyway, project managers, developers. I wanted to add this because, again, I like it when employees or members of a team are talking about that they're hiring. So I wanted to stick this in here. So check out boards. Oh, see, this is that part where now hold on. I'm coming back. There we go. Tim, well-known board member, investor, tech, in the tech space here in town. I thought this one was interesting. A director of information technology at the Guthrie Theater. I'm a huge fan of the Guthrie Theater. I try to make it to A Christmas Carol every year. It's just an amazing performance. Obviously this year, whatever. But this might be a role if you're in this space. You've got a friend, a colleague, like this would be something you might want to check out. Came across this one happenstance. I don't even know what I searched for to get me here. But a co-founder / entrepreneur at General Mills. Interesting role. Again, I'll have the link below. I don't know anything about it other than I was like, dang, really? Because you don't see roles like this mentioned that often. I'm going to keep the slide here for a couple more moments. During Startup Week, Matt DeCure, Aaron O'Neill, two well-respected, loved. I'm a huge fan of theirs. They did a presentation about hiring developers. Matt has a website called Invisible Network. Invisible Network is, let me go back a step. Matt came from the West Coast to Minneapolis, St. Paul a number of years ago. The way he found all of his jobs through his career while he's been here, of course, has been through people. I remember speaking with him a long time ago at Field Collective, what was then Coco, and having a conversation about like, here's who hiring, here's where to go, here's who to talk to. And of course, I wasn't the only one he was doing this with. He was building his network, and he has now created a website where it's kind of focused on tech and product, but there's some sales, there's some recruiting and HR folks who post their profile, their persona as well. But I can post my, I'm looking for an interim director of recruiting role or a director of recruiting role, whatever it might be. And I can give snippets of who I am and what I do, what I'm looking for, companies that I would like to hear from. So it's a good opportunity for me to silently do a job search, invisible, and then also for employers who they now know they have these are active candidates. The other part is that because it's blind, takes out a lot of bias in the run through, right? So you reach out to Matt or his team, and you say, hey, if you're an employer, hey, I want to speak with this person, because of course they're gonna want to talk to me, right? Kidding. And they can start interaction. Of course, then there's 3 different ways that Matt has. I think it's a subscription, a flat fee, a percent, whatever it is. So if you're in the technology space here in town and doing the work, strongly recommend if you're doing a job search to go put your profile there. If you're an employer, a hiring company here in town, certainly do the same. Huge fan of Matt and Aaron. She's so cool. That's all I got. And then you can see their Twitter accounts there, lower left-hand corner of the slide. Let me pop this part out now. I might have to do this thing again in a minute. I spent 4 years out in the West Burbs in the Lake Minnetonka area. Previously, I was 13 years living in the North Loop. And I love downtown. I love being downtown. I wasn't a go out type person. I wasn't a foodie even. I liked to be, I'm an introvert at heart, or at least at night and weekends. I like to be around the atmosphere, but not in it. Loved my time in the North Loop. COVID-19, with the amount of staff, employers just not even being open in downtown, post George Floyd being killed, and whether it's protests, some of the riots, whatnot. Downtown doesn't feel like it does to me 8 months ago, first of the year. It's just, there's a different vibe about it. And there have been, I might bring this up in the next episode. The Downtown Business Association is saying that they have way fewer number of companies looking to move into downtown, and they have way more number of companies in town looking to move out. Here's why I'm posting this. Well, first of all, I love my city. Let's just be clear about it. I'm thinking about moving back. Part of that, I don't even know what I want to do yet for where I'm living, just as a heads up. It's not so much even just the downtown part. But anyway, Deluxe is moving its headquarters from Shoreview, which for those of you not in the area is third ring suburb of St. Paul, moving into downtown Minneapolis. They've actually moved into downtown Minneapolis. And I thought this was a really cool story of here's a company that wants to bring its people into downtown. And so it'll be interesting to see how all of this stuff plays out. How does housing play out in the North Loop in the warehouse district? Quick side note, because I've been looking in pricing. Many of the apartments in downtown Minneapolis in the North Loop are offering rent reductions or 1 month or 2 month free rent. The unit that I had rented years ago is down. It's down $200 a month. Plus, you can get a 1, if not 2 months free rent. So there's some concern about housing in downtown Minneapolis or the North Loop. So that's just kind of a ramble. Sorry, it's just near and dear to my heart, so that's why it's coming up here. Yep. See, I knew I had to. Said this last time too. I've had a few conversations since that if you're, that's sort of the news. That's the sort of the news that I have of what's going on. If you're recruiting, and I don't care if you're a CEO, a co-founder, VP of HR, or a tech recruiter, for you're in the manufacturing space and you're in outstate Minnesota and you've got a recruiting problem, something you want to run by someone, below, you'll find my link to Calendly. Find a time that's good for you. Let's get a half an hour nerd out. Caution, they don't always last a half an hour, because if I can nerd out on recruiting, I'm a pretty happy kid. It's good. It's a great way for me to be able to nerd out. And if there's any way that I can be of some help to you with a particular thing or an idea or a strategy or whatever, I always want to have those. So please reach out to me on those. Beyond that, I'm still letting folks know that I am not working at full capacity. So my whole hire me, I've added the word amplification now. That is, it's a new program that I'm doing. And the idea is I've been trying to reimagine how I can best help companies in our city and our region build their teams. And things are a little bit different now than they were 8 months ago, but how you would do it, partly because of the virtual, partly because a lot of companies now are saying we can hire remote. And so this gets me back to my days at when I worked in 2015, 2016. The idea is that if you're a CTO, if your CTO would love to have a marketing department to help promote it, to help hire for it, I know one, and it's me. If your recruiting function needs greater marketing attention, needs a PR person, and also to source, recruit, and hire, I know a person. Reach out to me. News you want to share. What's going on? What's of interest? Whether you heard of something, your company has something, you've hired someone, like send me a note. Let me know what's going on at your company or what else I should be talking about. Next week, I'm going to focus on employment statistics. The state numbers came out. The weekly unemployment numbers have bottomed and kind of started going back up again across the U.S. This Friday, the 2nd, will be well, they call it the October numbers, but it's September's employment numbers, how many people got hired, how many people got let go. I haven't even looked at the projections yet, but Wednesday's like the Challenger Gray and Christmas number. Thursday is the House private survey, and then Friday is the Department of Labor survey. So there'll be some stuff to talk about next Monday for those of you who are geeky and nerdy. Even if this sounds dry to you, there are some implications about the economy for fourth quarter and going into 2021. So that's why I want to talk about some of that stuff. Future topics are the same ones that I had before. I've added interviews and guests. It was already on my mind that there are people that I want to get on here for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe it's a half an hour, maybe it's a little bit more. The idea is that there are some things going on in town that I want to learn more about, and I figure you may as well be able to join in on that. These conversations that I'm going to be having, these episodes are going to be longer or shorter. The first one I think was like 40 minutes. This one's not quite 30. But if I get a chance to interview some people, rest assured they're going to go a little bit longer, but the content's going to be great. I thank you for hanging out with me yet again. Episode 2, done on the day I said I would. Well, I suppose it's a week off, but it's still a Monday. I hope that you're doing well enough, staying safe. And I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Take care.